So for a little while now, I've been wanting to talk about obesity and how I see it as a mental health issue, or a mental health problem, mental well-being problem, and how I'm surprised it never seems to get raised. Whenever I see articles and read articles about obesity, the kind of what I feel is a real strong link barely gets a mention. We're always talking about the the foods and what's in foods and what companies are putting in foods that we don't know about. And look, there is stuff in that, and I know there's things in that, and there's an argument to be made for all that. But I actually feel like that's a smaller part of the issue than mental health and mental well-being and the links between it and obesity. Um, Obesity, from what I read, continues to rise. There continues to be a problem with it, within children as well. And we hear about the strain on the NHS. And I even read about people, we start to shame people who are struggling with obesity. And we're saying things like they should pay to use the NHS and things like that. And actually, the reason I feel like obesity isn't talked about in enough in the mental health and mental well-being spectrum is because we've all got probably a difficult relationship with food. Now, last year I was about it's just over a stone and a half heavier than what I am now. I got to the heaviest I'd ever been in my life. And it wasn't because I didn't know what I was eating. It wasn't because I didn't realize how much sugar was in something. It wasn't because I didn't realize the calories. It was because I was binge eating. Some people talk about comfort eating, but I was binge eating. So what I was doing is I was getting home in the evening, and rather than dealing with where my mental well-being was at the time, I would escape into food. So I was going down the shop every night, buying loads of chocolate, loads of sugary stuff, and just binging on it. And I was getting the same feelings after my binge on the food as I used to after a binge on alcohol or any of the other stuff that I used to self-medicate with. And that was like the feelings of shame and guilt. And with it, what happened is I started to put on weight and I started to become unhappy with the way that I look, and so I got in this vicious cycle. And I knew about diet. I knew about the ways to live a healthy lifestyle when it came to food. I knew how to eat clean, but all of it didn't matter because at the time I had an unhealthy relationship with food, and I was using it in different ways. And I feel like when you look at children obesity and the obesity in people that are growing up, we have a tendency, and I've done it as parents, to try and make our kids go quiet. And when they're struggling and showing a lot of emotions, we'll hand them a biscuit to try and make them be quiet. Yeah. So very early on, we're teaching children that to eat on their emotions. And what I was doing when I began to have an unhealthy relationship with food was eating on my emotions and eating on my feelings. So the line between what was anxiety and what was hunger in the end was becoming blurred as well. Yeah, because I was eating on anxiety. Anxiety can manifest itself as boredom. So lots of people will say I eat all the time because I'm bored, but what they're actually talking about is anxiety, and then it's manifesting itself as boredom, because I believe boredom is often a term that people are using to describe anxiety. Is when they're feeling anxious, they think they're bored, and then so we're eating. Um, and they're eating on that boredom. They're eating because they're bored, but really they're eating on anxiety and suppressed emotions and feelings, and that I truly believe that. And I feel like the reason it's not talked on a bigger scale and a larger scale is because we in some way we all relate to it, and we're all denying that we've used food in a certain way. So it's easier if it's all the companies out there fault and everything that they're putting in food. It's easier to blame it on them, and we can get busy trying to sort them out and make them look at what they're doing rather than looking in and realizing that some of us are eating because we've got sadness in us that we haven't dealt with, for an example. Or some of us are eating because we're angry and we haven't been able to or allowed to express anger. So look, I'm not against the whole Jamie Oliver stuff, and don't take anything but a banana and half a slice of bread to school, right? I get it, I get that, and there's that we need to look at that, But I really do feel like we need to start looking at the mental health side of food and start talking about it in terms of a relationship. And what relationship do we have with food, and what relationship do our children have with food going forward? So yeah, I wanted to get them thoughts out there because I've been thinking about them for quite a long time. And I changed, by the way, just going back to, I got rid of the 1.5 stone by completely readdressing myself and looking within, and then I started the gym in the morning, which one helped to burn calories, but two, it began to improve my mental health and my mental well-being, and then I got into a healthy cycle as opposed to the vicious cycle that I was in. So yeah, if you're struggling with food and you're struggling with your weight, or struggling with your fitness and that kind of thing in general, address the times you're eating and question yourself when you're eating. Am I eating because I'm hungry, or am I eating because there's an internalized feeling that I want to escape? And I do believe that if you can separate that and start to say, okay, I'm not hungry now, I'm eating on anxiety, then that's when you will see change as well. So mental well-being's got something to do with everything in my eyes, just like physical well-being has. If your physical well-being hits zero, you're gone. And I believe if your mental health and well-being hits zero, then you're gone too. So yeah, I haven't really got anything else to say on it, apart from keep looking within and questioning yourself.